everybody, it's Holly here today for Newton's Nook, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use the new Land Borders Dyed Trio, or Duo. This is a set that's perfect for making scenes with grass and a hillside or a snowy hillside. I'm going to show you how to use it in an alternative way other than using it to create a scene. And I'm also going to be using the Newton's Rainy Days. This is a new stamp set that came out with the March release. So I'm going to start out by die cutting some pattern paper. This is some pattern paper from Doodlebug. I'm just using a stitched rectangle die to cut the main pink panel. And I'm just going to go ahead and use my Big Shot machine for that. And this is a great way to use up scrap pieces of pattern paper as well. Because you can see here this is bottom pieces in a whole sheet. And sometimes you have these fun patterns but you don't have a whole piece to make a large area. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the same stitched rectangle to cut that one as well. That way I have the same border the whole way around. And then I'm going to use the wavy line portion of the stitched land borders. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on here, making sure I have enough height. What that's going to do is basically give the top portion of my card panel kind of a wavy line at the bottom. And then the cloud pattern paper can peek out from underneath. This is a great way to use any type of border dies that you have like this that you can make fun scenes. So I decided to go ahead with a piece of white cardstock, standard A2 size cut, to create my card base. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere my pattern paper. The rectangle die that I used leaves a very tiny border around it. I think it's like a 1/16 of an inch, not very big at all. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere the adhesive to the back of each panel. And then I'm going to go ahead and place that on the card, leaving just about a 1/16 of an inch space the whole way around. That way I know everything's going to measure out properly. So yeah, this is a great design or layout to use with all your pattern paper pieces you have laying around. You could also use the grass portion of the Land Borders die to create a fringe. You could cut several layers of different pattern papers and then layer them on top of each other to create kind of a fringe layers, and then you could like fluff up the pieces of the grass to kind of give it some texture. Well, lots of different ways to use these dies. They don't always have to be to create hillsides and stuff. So then once I have the card front situated, I'm going to go ahead and I stamped my image onto a piece of Express It blending cardstock. In the very beginning, the color of the paper looks a little different because I was originally going to watercolor this, so I had on a piece of watercolor paper. That didn't work out very well, so I went ahead and decided to use my Copic. So I stamped the image and the sentiment onto a piece of Copic Express It blending cardstock using some Copic friendly ink, and then I went ahead and die cut it out using a stitched circle die. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my Copics to color the images in. And once I'm all done coloring the images in, I will come back and we will finish the card. And I will put the color of markers that I'm using up on the screen so that you can see what I'm doing in case you want to follow along. for the part of the umbrella, I decided I wanted to paper piece it, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp the image onto that same pink polka dotted pattern paper that I used in the beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp it on there, and then I'm going to use my C Copic markers, C1 and C3, and I'm going to go ahead and use those to create some highlights onto the umbrella image, or create some shadows, not highlights. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my scissors and fussy cut that out, and you just cut around the images that of the cat's like tail and the little duck head. You want to cut those out, so you're basically just cutting out the umbrella image. And then I'm going to use a black memento marker to go around the edges to make sure everything's nice and clean and it looks like it has a nice clean lines from where you trimmed it out. And then I'm going to use some Tombow mono adhesive. Sorry, I'm off camera here a little bit. Any glue adhesive would work. Liquid glue adhesive would work. And I just make sure to stay away from the very edges so that when I apply it down, none of the glue seeps out around the paper because the images are kind of tiny. The multimedia matte would work really good here too, because once it dried, if any did seep out, it would be matte, so you wouldn't really see it very much. So once I have that on, I'm going to go ahead and color in the kitty cat's ears and the rest of the umbrella image. Again, I'm sorry that I'm kind of off camera here a little bit. I decided to, in the beginning I was just going to leave it plain like it is without adding anything to it, and then I felt that it needed a little bit of ground for the cat to be sitting on. So I just stayed with the colors that I used throughout the project. So I went ahead with the C00, C1, and C3 markers and just added in the ground there. And a good way to create the ground is to always go with the lighter color first, and then go with the medium, then the dark, and then work your way backwards. And then I'm also going to use a Spectrum Noir glitter pen. I'm not sure exactly what these are called, sparkle pens or something. And I'm just adding the clear one over the umbrella to give it a little bit of sparkle. And I also added some onto the puddle image. So here's where I decided to go ahead and create the ground with the markers. You could do the same if you wanted to create a sky or a shadow around the image. For the sky area, you could just use your lighter B's or BGs and just start out with the lightest one and then work your way around and come back. So I'm going to go ahead and add some foam and tape to the back of the circle panel. So I'm going to go ahead and add some foam adhesive to the back of the circle panel, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere that to the front of the card base. And I'm just adding it to the left-hand side where that curve is from the land border dies. And then to finish off my card, I wanted to add some clear enamel dots, so I just put a couple of those around the image. You could also use some sparkling clear enamel dots or colored enamel dots or even sequins. I just chose to go with the clear enamel dots. Looks like little raindrops on your project. So that finishes off my project for today, so I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I will see you guys again next month with a new video here at Nook. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.